Welcome. Welcome to the NexGen show. Today we have with us a very interesting person. We call her Amni for short. Amni is a junior strat planner with the international agency. And we would like to welcome her and we would like to listen to her experiences as a junior in the business. Welcome, Amni.
Hi, Ham. Thank you so much for inviting me here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, tell us about your experience so far.
My experience as a junior?
That's right.
I would say that I love my experience as a junior. So I've been a junior for about 1.5 years now, and I was so fortunate to be surrounded with good people. So in my team, we had like 3 strategy directors. I'm going to name drop them. Bien Katubai, Kathleen De Cruz, and John Line. I learned so much from them. I guess being a junior allows me to sort of explore so many things because I told my boss, my head of strategy, I'm here to be a sponge and absorb as many things as I want. So even though I'm a planner, I want to be part in a shoot. Even though, some people say, why would a planner needs to be at a shoot? But I want to see how it goes. Because when you're a planner, you don't just do one part. You need to know the whole process of it. So when as a junior, my experience is that I get to go to shoots, go to the PPM, online, offline. And then I get to go to award nights, which was interesting because they serve 5-course dinner. Free food, and being surrounded by supportive people. So I would, cliche, but it's like a family. We have like a team building, so I get to play pickleball, or paddle, which I never heard of a sport before, but I get to play those things. So I would say that my experience has been so insightful. It's not just in work area, because for me, I believe that I've grown so much as a junior planner, but also it goes to my personal life too. It has really built me as a person. And before, when I first started, I was so self-conscious, like, am I going to be a good planner, and like, maybe I suck, But then as time goes by, I realized that who cares if you suck, because you're a junior, it's a process and when you want to be great, it comes with an experience. So I learned to enjoy the time I am, as a junior.
Listening to you, I wish I also was a junior. Because, a junior can be a state of mind also, right? You can forever want to be in that mode of wanting to learn.
Yes.
It can be a permanent. You can be a permanent junior in your mind.
True, and stay young, and because I feel like in terms of
but
learning,
insist on the senior salary lah.
Okay. True. Yeah, learning never stops, right? Even when you go past the junior level, you will still continuously learning. But I think when it comes to being a junior, you get to express yourself more, I love being able to go in a regroup and then say all the things that I feel like I want to say, because sometimes junior sees it from a different perspective, for example. Yeah, but not necessarily right, not necessarily correct. So that's when you own up the mistakes that you did and you learn along the way.
So do you get to go to client meetings?
Yes, I did get to go to client meetings. Sometimes I'm not needed, but I'm like, hey, can I go to the client meeting?
Oh, kepo lah.
Yeah, if you say that way, kepo, but it's more observing, how do my seniors talk with the client, so the behavior that you need to present when you're with client meetings, and also just learning what they talk about. Sometimes I don't even understand what they say, so you bring a book and you write down whatever they say, so after you leave the client meeting, you can Google, so this is what they meant by things like that, I love, so I've gone to pitches, which is an interesting and stressful things to do, but it's so fun, I get to present the ideas and the strategy proposition that I believe in, and get to convince the client. And we won some of the businesses too for a pitch, which is a really cool things as a junior, because sometimes they don't get to experience those things. But I feel like if you're a junior, don't be scared. All you need to do sometimes is just ask, hey, can I be in this pitch? Hey, do you think I can present in this pitch?
What mistakes have you made so far?
Mistakes that I made so far is that sometimes I'm too confident in myself, Sometimes when we do like the strategic proposition, I think this is it. There was one mistake that I made, like, the brief was about a brand rebrand, for example, but my view was about campaign basis. So when you do a strat planning, right, it has to see what are the briefs the client wants. If it's campaign, it's different, If it's rebranding, it's different. So at that time, I was probably just 2 months old in the industry, and I'm like, I don't understand the difference between all those things. So I thought, this is what I believe in. I told to my bosses, and they say, no, it's not. This is not how it is. This is not campaign. Like it could be good for campaign, but this is not it. And then I started to learn that you're not always right all the time, and it's okay to do that. And you have to learn to be humble and listen to the people and learn.
Well, it's interesting that you've explained in that manner, because in our industry, where we have to come up with ideas and where we have to shift the goalposts every now and then, where we have to cross from handling, say, a telco brand, and the next minute you are handling a bank client or something. So there's no right or wrong, but you need to be fluid, and you need to change. It's good that you embrace that. But I would also like to share that that innocence part also is a very important part of people welcome that sort of opinions. People welcome, especially we are in the back end.
Yeah.
Advertising is in the back end. The final result will be what the consumer sees. So in the back end, there's a lot of scope for experimentation, for rejection.
Yes, true.
There are a lot of interesting people who work in an agency, right? You've got copywriters, you've got, of course, management and the crafts people, the art directors, the designers. Which is the area which you find very interesting to you when you first came into the business?
I find the creative people are very interesting to me because, how could they come up with some like a good creative direction that, I didn't even think of it, And it's really interesting when, as working in the advertising, it's a collaborative effort, right? You don't just do things by yourself. Like if you're a planner, you collaborate with the creatives so that everything gel well and aligns together. And I think it's really interesting because the creatives always, going outside of the box and thinking with the ideas based on the insights that we provided, which is really interesting to me because how could you come up with maybe 2 or 3 ideas based on one insight that we just provided to you, It's so impressive to see how they expand the strategic proposition that we gave to them, and they could, provide the directions and probably, different path. Like one direction is this way, and then another direction is another way. So it's really interesting for me, and how creative they are, and I love hanging around with them, and. If you notice, this is based on my observation. So the way the creatives dress and the planners dress are quite different. I love how the creatives dress. Sometimes I'm jealous, when my creative director comes in with his cool hat, cool socks. It's so cool. And sometimes I just find that, this is why they're creative people. They're able to express how they feel, their idea. Yeah.
Well, very interesting. There's no magic to it, right? Now in the business, you realize that there's a structure to creation in terms of ideas and all that.
Yes, correct.
And very interesting when you say that they can dress whichever way they like, with the earrings and this piercing and their tattoo and their bald head. Yeah. Bald is in, yeah. But, just want to share, what I find interesting about the advertising agency or communications agency is when they go and see a client, and if you dress like the client, say for example, It's quite boring, isn't it?
True.
The client want to be in your space, so that they can harness your thinking or whatever that is required for their success. And here you find that, so I think being different is a critical part. I mean, you got to dress decent, of course,
Yes.
but don't dress like a client and go to a client's meeting, unless you are, of course, in account management. Yeah, you're the go-between. How long do you think you will stay a junior?
Not for long. Yeah, I'm aiming to not be a junior next year because, I just want to see what's my next plan ahead, and junior is not part of it. But I'm still going to keep my spirit. I'm still going to keep my curiosity because I'm a curious person, my being proactive. I'm still going to be me, just in a different part of life.
Do you find that your colleagues or your partners, your client partners, are being nice to you because you're a junior?
No. I think it all goes back to personality, and how is your people skill and being with the people, how you communicate with them. I think when I first came to the job, I had lunch with myself, like lonely in the cafeteria and with nobody. I felt so lonely. Like, why did I have lunch by myself, And then I told myself that I do not want to be this lonely, sad junior, So I tried to build a genuine relationship with all the seniors in my team. And at the end of the day, we actually became close, They're not just my seniors that I learned from, but they're also my friends, We go out and play sports, badminton, and we have lunch together. It's really important for us to understand their behavior too. As a junior, we need to observe. Sometimes they don't like if you disturb them too much. For example, some of the seniors, they like certain things. So it's not you; it's you observing their behavior and you catering to that and building this solid relationship. Yeah.
I feel that we are all juniors, lah. Yeah. We are not, there's no such thing as, senior person because been doing it for a long time and this and that and experience and wisdom. But in our business, if you lose that junior or that innocence, of a newcomer, so to speak, you are lost, lah, then. Because there are challenges in this our business which are very, very steep, and the learning curve continues. You can't be an expert forever. You cannot. It's never the case. How do you, when you look at these new platforms, like they're not new also anymore, these social platforms that we have, and there've been more coming and all that. How do you wish what do you wish to say to brands in how they perceive these platforms? What are the weaknesses or biases that you feel that brands have towards, say, this platform or that platform? What are your thoughts about that? Okay,
so about different platforms, to be honest, I understand from brand perspective because they want to inject money, for example, in promoting their films, whatever, right? And they have to think of what platforms works well for them, which I totally understand. But also we as a planner or people who works in advertising, we need to also justify why certain platforms works and why it doesn't work. And it's really important because I love digital so much. I love social. So sometimes I have to really tell people that, Instagram and TikTok, they are two different things. Whatever you post on TikTok, they're not exactly the same as Instagram. For example, I had a viral video on TikTok. I loved creating contents. So there was a viral video that I made. I was crying, and then my boss was treating me ice cream. I posted it on TikTok, and it had like 3 million views. So the comments, they were all positive, like, oh, your boss is so nice, I want to work there. But then another account picked up my video and posted it on Instagram. And when I scrolled through the comments, it was all negative. Like the response are different. And then it got into me thinking that, oh my God, this is the proof that two different platforms are different. Like the audience are different. So you cannot treat them the same.
Why do you think there were negative comments on IG as opposed to TikTok, to your video?
I think because of the audiences of Instagram, they are probably in the age group who's a bit older, and they couldn't understand the perspective of people crying, for example. And then on TikTok, the audience are a bit of a younger audience, and the behavior is different from the older generation. So it's not a bad thing per se, but I think understanding who your audience is on social media matters. And the videos that went viral on my TikTok and Instagram are proof that you need to understand who you are targeting to.
That's a very good example. Good. Tell us about a good client experience you've had.
A good client experience.
Yes. Where you learned from the client and the collaboration was a joy.
Okay, so I was working for a FMCG category, but it's mostly social. And I really love it. It's not just, the client was really open about, we want to target Gen Z. We have to be a bit more, use the slangs of what the young people use, We're open to jump on the trends and things like that. So I really love how clients are willing to take the creative risk and, just go all the way. Because, when I present to them like, hey, I think this is good for our content and this is what works best for our audience. And for a client, I understand that it could be difficult for them to maybe perceive it that way or because there's so much at risk, right? But I think the good thing about them is that, we're okay with that. We want to push the creative idea, even though it may seem risky to them. So it's really fun to be working with this FMCG client because we get to jump on trends, just having fun and creating good social content. So I think a really nice thing about brand is that, like the brands that I'm working is, how they're open to take the risk and be not just in this same mold. They want to be outside of it. And I think it's really interesting. And I wish more clients are like that. But also I understand from their perspective too, there's so much you put at risk in terms of money, financially and things like that. And you have pressure from the stakeholders. So it's totally understand. But I think from our perspective as advertisers, right, advertising agencies, we have to justify why we want to do that, convince them why it's such an important thing to do. And, that they would get the good response out of it. So,
yeah. This is all too good. I mean, is there anything you hate about sometimes the way the brands behave in general?
It's not like I hate, but I wish that some brands in Malaysia are more open to be creative, Sometimes they would think of, what about, how would the audience react to this, or oh my God, is it gonna be good? Is the response gonna be good? I feel like don't just limit yourself within the mold. Don't just fit in this mold. Go big. And we've seen all the good ads overseas, like in America, and how they're so good at it, right? So it's because all the brands outside, they're willing to take the risk, and I really hope that more brands in Malaysia would do the same too.
Okay. It's been very interesting talking to you, Amni. Very refreshing, very honest. We love the energy. We wish you well. Don't be perfect. Yeah. Imperfection also is a trait, it's a quality that gives a different view on things. And we wish you all the best. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, you've just been listening to me talk to Amni, a junior strategic planner in the business. As you can tell, there is much positivity and vibrancy in her sharing. And we thank you for joining us on this episode of NexGen. Thank you.